Welcome to today's video. In this episode, we're diving deep into the book of Revelation to explore one of its most vivid and thought-provoking symbols, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Mentioned in Revelation 6, these iconic figures represent powerful forces associated with the end times: conquest, war, famine, and death. The Four Horsemen serve as symbols not only for the future, but also as reflections of ongoing struggles humanity has encountered throughout history. In today's episode, we'll unpack each horseman and the symbolism that surrounds them, reflecting on how their presence might relate to both the past and our world today. To understand the Four Horsemen, we must first look at their place in the narrative of Revelation, a book written by John of Patmos. Revelation is packed with symbolic imagery, and it's often considered one of the most challenging books of the Bible due to its complex and sometimes cryptic visions. John's writings reveal a prophecy, one that he believed was shown to him through divine revelation. Central to this vision is a scroll with 7 seals, each representing significant events that will come to pass. When the Lamb of God, interpreted as Jesus Christ, begins opening these seals, the first 4 seals reveal the Four Horsemen. These riders each bring a unique force that will impact the world, each horse in a different color, representing different aspects of human experience and challenges. The first horseman appears on a white horse. This rider, carrying a bow and wearing a crown, rides forth conquering and to conquer. Many interpretations have emerged about this figure. Some view the white horse as a symbol of conquest or authority, representing a force spreading influence or establishing control. The color white traditionally represents purity, and some early scholars believe this rider might represent Christ or the spread of the gospel. However, others interpret this rider as a symbol of deception or false authority, perhaps a leader or ideology that initially appears noble, but ultimately misleads and controls. This idea of false peace or deceptive conquest reminds us of how power, even with seemingly good intentions, can be twisted into something harmful. Over time, leaders and figures have emerged who, under the guise of peace or progress, have led societies into conflict or oppression. This first rider serves as a reminder of how easily humanity can be swayed by appearances, cautioning us to question the motives behind authority and to be vigilant against deceit that wears the mask of peace. Next, we encounter the second horseman, who rides a red horse. Unlike the first rider, the second brings a great sword and is granted the power to take peace from the earth, causing people to slay one another. The red horse is often seen as the embodiment of war and violence, and the color red, associated with blood and aggression, emphasizes this destructive force. Throughout human history, war has reshaped entire civilizations, sometimes building but often destroying cultures, families, and lives. The rider of the red horse is a symbol of humanity's tendency towards conflict and division. This horseman doesn't just bring violence on a small scale. He represents the kind of widespread turmoil that destabilizes societies. From wars between nations to internal conflicts within communities, this rider symbolizes how quickly peace can crumble when human ambition, pride, and greed take control. This horseman serves as a stark reminder of the cycle of violence that has plagued humanity. The lesson here urges us to pursue peace actively, to recognize the destructive potential of conflict, and to strive for unity rather than division. The third horseman arrives on a black horse, holding a pair of scales in his hand. This image may seem unusual at first, but in the context of Revelation, the black horse symbolizes famine and scarcity. The scales held by the rider represent the weighing of food and resources, a familiar concept in times of economic hardship, where resources become scarce and food must be rationed. In Revelation, the rider announces inflated prices for wheat and barley, implying that even basic sustenance becomes costly and difficult to obtain. This scarcity is a powerful image of how economic imbalance and greed can lead to widespread suffering. Famine has often followed in the wake of war or environmental disaster, leaving the vulnerable in dire situations. The black horse thus represents not only famine in a literal sense, but also the impact of economic disparity. This imagery resonates today as poverty, inflation, and resource shortages remain real issues in many parts of the world. The black horse calls attention to the dangers of unchecked greed, reminding us of the importance of fair distribution and compassion. The lesson here is to be mindful of how we manage resources, ensuring that wealth is not concentrated among a few while others suffer. Finally, the fourth horseman, perhaps the most chilling of all, rides a pale or sickly-colored horse. This horseman is named Death, and Hades follows closely behind. Unlike the other riders, whose symbols can be debated, the fourth horseman's purpose is clear. He embodies the inevitability of mortality. Death's appearance often symbolizes not just the physical end of life, but also the ultimate consequences of unchecked suffering, violence, and scarcity brought by the other three horsemen. Death is the culmination of all the forces unleashed by the previous riders, symbolizing the grim end that awaits humanity if it continues on a path of self-destruction. This horse, described as pale, evokes sickness, decay, and the fragility of life. In a world marked by conflict, greed, and neglect, death is an unavoidable consequence. The pale horse serves as a powerful reminder of life's brevity and the need to make choices that honor life rather than diminish it. The presence of this horseman challenges us to confront our mortality and to live in a way that respects both our lives and the lives of others. Taken together, the four horsemen of the apocalypse reveal a powerful and sobering message. While some interpret these riders as a prophecy of future events, others see them as a reflection of humanity's ongoing struggles with power, violence, inequality, and mortality. These horsemen are not just about predicting the end of the world. They serve as mirrors, showing us the darker aspects of human nature and urging us to reflect on the consequences of our choices. The four horsemen compel us to face uncomfortable truths about human behavior. The forces of conquest, conflict, scarcity, and death are not confined to a distant future. They have existed throughout history and remain present today. This narrative calls us to consider how our own actions, on both personal and societal levels, can either perpetuate these destructive cycles or help break them. In many ways, the four horsemen serve as a warning, challenging us to look at the world through a lens of accountability. If humanity continues to pursue conquest without regard for others, if we allow divisions to fuel conflict, if we tolerate economic injustice, and if we disregard the value of life, then the consequences will be severe. The horsemen represent forces we must be wary of, both within society and within ourselves. As individuals, we're called to seek peace, practice empathy, and work towards a more just world. In facing the riders of conquest, war, famine, and death, we recognize the importance of cultivating virtues that can counteract these forces: humility, compassion, generosity, and respect for life. Thank you for joining us today as we explore the powerful symbolism of the four horsemen. If you found this exploration meaningful, please like and subscribe for more insights into the intriguing mysteries of ancient texts. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. How do you interpret the four horsemen? Do you view them as prophecy, a reflection of humanity, or something else entirely? Share your thoughts and let's continue the conversation about these hauntingly relevant symbols.